95-96% of the decisions are taken emotionally. Then as business people, as marketers, we must understand what are the emotions behind the decisions. क्या आपको लगता है कि लक्स साबुन इस्तेमाल करने से आप आलिया भट्ट जैसे दिखने लगेंगे? What are the biases because of which people buy? What is the right price for my brand or service or product for me to start growing? Can I do something for the consumer which benefits the consumer more but also boosts my profit? आजकल ना मार्केट में ये ब्रांड का बहुत सुनाई दे रहा है तो सब लोग खरीद रहे हैं एंड इन रिसर्च वी टेक दोस रिस्पॉन्सेज एज वैलिड रिस्पॉन्सेज थिंकिंग कि यही है हम भी स्कीम लगाते हैं हम भी 1-on-1 खरीद देते हैं your margins start going down. Put yourself into it. If you actively seek out saying why is the subject saying this way, what does it mean to business and what does it mean to me, how do I do it differently, it'll make a lot of difference. Right, thank you very much. Thanks for the warm welcome and thanks for the introduction, Alec. The stage is a little intimidating, so I'll just walk around here. It's great to be here. It's really nice to see a much larger batch and the batch size growing year after year. I did interact with the students of the last year a little bit in a few sessions that I took, so I could see the energy and I could see the excitement, and I hope that the same energy and excitement will continue in this batch as well. So I'm going to talk a little bit about consumer centricity and consumer insights and how that helps. And Alec was rightly telling me that you guys haven't necessarily thought about consumer insights or are familiar with it as much. So I'm going to give a little bit of glimpse and introduction of what that means. And the fact that you haven't thought about it or haven't been introduced to the subject is not surprising. If you talk to people who work for 20 years, even a lot of them haven't thought about consumer insights, which is a problem. Which is a problem that some of people like me are trying to solve in the industry. But if you start thinking about it as the backbone of everything that you do, then you'll probably do much better than most other people. But let me start by saying that this is going to be the most exciting year of your life, and this is going to be game changing. Where you are now and where you would be 1 year down the line is going to be totally different. And I'm saying that from my personal experience as well. I went to B school like a long time ago. Most of you were not born when I went to B school. But I was an engineer by undergraduation. My undergrad was in engineering. And I went to engineering because I didn't want to be a doctor, and biology didn't interest me. The subject of bio didn't interest me. So therefore I went to engineering by default. And I studied engineering till 12th. I was like a topper in my school and all divisions and all of that. But when I went into engineering, I was like, abhi to college mein aa gaya yaar. When you're in college, then by definition, it feels like you should be having lots and lots of fun. So I was the last bencher in my college in engineering, not that you should be. And I was in the last 10 in my class. I didn't study much. It was a great college that I went to, one of the best in India, at least at that time. It was VJTI in Bombay, and IIT Bombay and VJTI were the two most reputed colleges at that time in that part of the world. So campus placement was not a problem. But when I started my job, I realized that I was quite bad at it. I didn't study engineering, मुझे कुछ आता नहीं था. And the company expected me to know a lot of things and do a lot of things. And I just didn't like it at all. I just sort of said, ये तो मुझे नहीं करना boss. तो अब क्या करना है? So I ran away literally from my job to the B school to escape. Also, I loved advertising and I loved psychology, so that those interested me to sort of get into marketing. But in B school, everything changed. Those 2 years was the best part of my life. That's why I'm saying that this is going to be a game changer. It totally changed my life. I came out to be a lot more confident. I came out to be a lot more sure of myself, a lot more sure of what I wanted to do in life and how would I get there. You don't know how you get there, but roughly how are you going to make a start, etc. That is the transformation that a B school can do to you. Because when you're in college, you're transitioning from being a teenager to an adult, right? That's a different phase of life. And you're sort of excited about different things. You're exploring life. You're trying to be independent for the first time. But now that phase is over. So don't think that you're in a college now. You're not a college anymore. You're in a professional course. You're going to get a professional education here. So you're going to go from being an adult to being a professional. And that transition is important to do. Also, it's interesting to see that, when I speak to some of my B school friends, and since I've been out for about 30 years or so, we've had a 5-year, 10-year, 20-year, 30-year, not 30 years as yet, but 25-year reunions, and I've connected with my friends. And the conversations that happen when you do reunions of your college friends, you're too young to have done that so far, but the 5-year reunion versus a 25-year reunion and the ones in between, look and feel very, very different. That's the subject of another conversation, so I won't get into details. But when I spoke to some of my friends as to why the B School was such a game changer for us, and I was at NMIMS, which looked and felt again very, very different than it does today. Why was it transformative? And it was transformative for some of them as well, but it was not transformative for about half the class. And I think one of the reasons why it was transformative for me is because I was seeking out transformation. I was seeking out learnings. I was seeking out actively saying, ये क्यों होता है? ये ऐसे क्या होता है? ये marketing में ऐसे क्यों करते हैं? And because I had worked for some time, I'd worked for a year or so, I could relate to a lot of subjects. I could relate to even organizational behavior. I could relate to finance. I could relate to marketing. I could relate to supply chain. So I could relate to the subjects, so it became easier for me. So if you put yourself into it, if you actively seek out, saying, why is the subject saying this way? What does it mean to business? And what does it mean to me? Am I liking it? Am I not liking it? How do I do it differently? It'll make a lot of difference. So don't think you're in a college. Think you're in a professional environment, which is what you are. And the kind of people who are coming and teaching you for the age of the institute is fantastic. So seek out actively. Don't sit passively कि मुझे तो आके सिखाएंगे क्लास में, वो assignment देंगे, मैं assignment कर लूँगा, exam pass कर लूँगा. That's not how it happens. It doesn't matter how much you score in your exams here. It matters how much you learn. So seek out actively and use the most exciting time of your life to sort of transform yourselves and the things that you can do differently. If you think there are two things that you should learn in this school, what are those two things that you should learn? Those are the two thoughts that I want to leave behind for you to think about and to keep at the back of your mind throughout the entire year. And these might have been talked about by other speakers as well. But the first one, which I learned pretty early on, is asking the right question. Sounds very simple, but if you ask the right question, more than half the problem is solved. And in this institute in 1 year, if you learn one thing in 1 year at the end of it, if you don't learn anything else, but if you learn one thing, which is how do I ask the right question, trust me, you've got more than your money's worth for this education. That's what you need to learn. How do I ask the right question? Now, for asking the right question, it means that you need to sort of have several questions saying, my problem is, let's say that my sales are declining. So, oh, my sales are declining. Sales वालों को डंडा बजाओ यार, थप्पड़ लगाओ कि बेच नहीं रहे हो ठीक से, दुकान पे नहीं जा रहे, whatever the case may be. But is sales team a problem? If sales team is a problem, they're not selling to enough shops or they're not selling enough value, what would the symptoms be? Are those the symptoms that you're seeing? Or is the problem elsewhere? Am I priced too high? Am I priced too low? Is my marketing, which is creating the pull, is it good enough? Is that, sort of creating the awareness? Is it creating the equity that I need? What is the problem? So you will generate alternate questions, alternate hypotheses. Those who are from the statistics or mathematics background, a little bit more geeky if you like I am, those are hypothesis testing, as statistics says, which means nothing but you'll have alternative questions. Agar marketing is not doing, I'm not doing very good marketing of my brand, that's why sales are low. What will be the symptoms of that? Are those the symptoms that I'm seeing or not? If not, then marketing is not a problem. Is pricing a problem? If pricing was a problem, what are the symptoms I'll see? Sales declining is a big problem, of course. But if it is declining because I'm priced too high, what are the symptoms that I would see? I'm seeing those symptoms. Yes, I am. So pricing is a problem. Then the question is, what is the right price for my brand or service or product for me to start growing? Then you're asking the right question. Then you will explore saying, how do I know what is the right price? I'm priced at 100. Should it be 85? Should it be 90? Should it be 60? Should it be 125? What should it be? Then how do I go about answering that? Because then you boil down the question from saying, why are my sales declining, to say, what is my right price? So asking the right question is the most critical thing. And it therefore involves you thinking about the problems, digging deeper, and saying what are the reasons that problem could happen and which reasons, elimination method. Sherlock Holmes uses exactly the same thing. He does hypothesis testing. He would have several hypotheses as soon as he sees the problem, and he starts eliminating. He starts eliminating hypotheses and says, okay, these are the two hypotheses which could possibly be the reason why somebody is killed or a theft has happened or whatever, and starts exploring those hypotheses. That's all that there is to it. But it means you're rolling up your sleeves, looking at the information, talking to people, and figuring out what the right question is. The second is being consumer-centric. Now, all businesses think they're very consumer-centric, and they are to some extent. But consumer-centric means that putting consumer at the front and center for every question that you have. Everything you think about saying consumer kya bolega, wo kya bolegi, will she buy this, will she not buy it, will it make a difference? So I'll give you examples. Let's say there's a debate going on, and when I was at Unilever, there was a debate once saying that we're going to automate some part of factory, which is, let's say, when the product lines come out of the production, packing them into cartons and loading them, keeping them near the truck in the truck bay area. I'm going to automate that by having robots. And there was a debate saying robots karenge to itni efficiency badegi, itna cost lagega, we can produce more, we can ship more, blah, blah, blah. But then we put the question, the reason why I was in the leadership team was because my job to put consumers at the center. I said, consumers को क्या फर्क पड़ेगा? आप वो फैक्ट्री में robots लगा रहे हो या आदमी लगा रहे हो? How does it make a difference to consumers? Is there a benefit to consumers? No, there is no benefit to consumers. Then why are we investing money in it? Yes, there is cost efficiency, but will that cost efficiency bring more business? Will it bring consumer delight? No. Then you're only doing it for profit boosting. Can I do something for the consumer which benefits the consumer more, but also boosts my profit? Yes, we could do XYZ. Then the conversation shifts that. So therefore, however, whatever decision it may be, you can't say ki I'm in marketing, I'm in consumer insight, so therefore I'll look at consumers. You need to have consumers at the front and center for everything that you do. What's also important is that when you're thinking about consumers, you're thinking about people. In fact, a lot of companies have stopped using the word consumers. They use the word people. Because when you say consumers, you're thinking about the products that you're consuming, the products that you're buying, the products that you're using. When you think of people, you're thinking them as human beings with all the anxieties and the emotions and the desires and the aspirations that they come with. What is interesting is you might have seen this or heard this before, is that we take all the decisions through emotions. Some statistics suggest that 96% of the decisions are taken emotionally, not rationally at all. And people also think that men are more rational, women are more emotional. All that is just total bullshit. There's nothing of that sort. If you're a human being, you think emotionally. You think you chose to come to this institute because it was a rational decision? No, it was an emotional decision. It was not a rational decision. You didn't do a logistics, sort of algorithmic exercise saying, oh, ranking of the institute multiply with the probability of the salary that I'm going to get multiplied with this, and therefore answer is this, okay, I must go to this institute. You didn't do that. You probably took an emotional decision saying, like I did, saying, oh, I'm in a job that's not happening, my career is not going anywhere, let me run to a B school. Emotional decision. And then you apply and see what's the best you can do, which institute you can get. Or maybe an emotional decision saying, I think I need to grow as a professional, so therefore I'm lacking in leadership skills, or I'm lacking in business skills, or I want to run my own business. I want to join my father's business, and therefore I must have the right knowledge, and therefore take the institute that you want to go to. So all the decisions that we take are emotional decisions. There are no rational decisions in life. Even the financial decisions, which is supposed to be the most logical one, it's shocking how people take financial decisions. Insurance लेते हैं, अच्छा लोगों को पूछा, अच्छा आपने insurance लिया है? या 20,000 rupees का मैं premium pay करता हूँ हर साल. वो आपको उससे कितना coverage मिलेगा? If I die, I'll get 1 crore rupees. Fine. What if you don't die? Will you get something back 20 years later? What if you have an accident? What if you're disabled? Then what happens? Oh, I have no idea. What if instead of putting in ICICI insurance, you put in LIC, would you have got something different? Oh, I have no idea. People invest money without thinking. वो insurance uncle आए थे Sunday को, उन्होंने बोला ये ले लो policy, मेरे father ने ले लिया मेरे लिए. That's it. What happened to, there is no, because the emotional connection with the insurance uncle who's coming home, or you have a relationship manager in a bank, he calls and says, अरे ये mutual fund में है सर, डाल दो, चलो डाल दो यार, SIP डाल दो. What decision do you take? So no decisions are, I'm saying point I'm making are rational. And if they're emotional decisions, then as business people, as marketers, we must understand what are the emotions behind the decisions and how can we help people take better decisions, right? So therefore, emotions make the huge difference. The other thing that makes a difference is bias. I'm not expecting you to read the chart here. I can send you the presentation. But there are various biases that we have as human beings, right? So you must understand what are the biases that you have and what are the biases that people have. So for instance, there is something called as confirmation bias. I'm thinking that my sales are declining, going back to that example, because my sales team is not doing a proper job. वो salesman ठीक से काम नहीं कर रहा है, वो lazy है. उनको 20 दुकानों पे जाना होता है एक दिन में, they'll go to 12 or 15 and they say हो गया मेरा काम. और सर बहुत गर्मी है, बहुत बारिश है, तो I must बजाओ डंडा to the sales people. Now that's my bias. Therefore, I'm not even looking at alternative hypothesis. Now that's it, and therefore I'm looking for data. When I look at the data, information as to why sales are declining, pricing, advertising, marketing, sales, etc. I will ignore everything else and only look at the problem of the sales team because that's a confirmation bias. I'm looking for information that confirms what I think is right. That's a confirmation bias. So there are lots and lots of such biases, that happen in people and in consumers. What are the biases because of which people buy? So bandwagon effect, for instance. अच्छा वो आजकल ना मार्केट में ये ब्रांड का बहुत सुनाई दे रहा है तो सब लोग खरीद रहे हैं तो इसलिए मैंने भी खरीद लिया. That's a bandwagon effect. So how can you create bandwagon effect for your brand? And is that the reason why consumers are buying? Not because it's such a sexy brand, not because it's available or price side. It's just a bandwagon effect. So how do you counter that? The other thing marketers encounter a lot is what is called the post-rationalization. Have you heard of System 1, System 2? Yeah. So some of you have some. If you haven't, read this book called Thinking Fast, Thinking Slow by Daniel Kahneman. He got a Nobel Prize for that work. He did it extensively for several years, and a whole world of behavioral economics sort of came out of it. What Daniel Kahneman argued is that there are two parts of the brain, not physical compartments, but notionally. System 1 is an automatic behavior. हमको पता नहीं है. If I asked you how did you brush your teeth today morning, you will not remember exactly today how I brush. You will generally tell me how do you brush. आज सुबह exactly क्या हुआ वो instance याद नहीं आया because it's an automatic behavior. It's a system 1 behavior where the brain doesn't want to think. You just do it automatically. System 2 is where you put the rational brain in front and say, अच्छा, why should I go to this institute? Why should I join this job? Where should I invest my money? Etc. Is when the system 2 comes in, right? Now, what Daniel Kahneman's research also showed is that we make majority of the things that we do in a daytime is with system 1. Because our brain doesn't want to think. Our brain is quite lazy. They push everything to system 1, saying, ये है, तो ये करेंगे, बड़ी गाड़ी जा रही है, I'm driving a car, a big car is coming, big fat SUV, I will think that the big fat SUV is going to be aggressive. They will honk, they will throw lights, and I will automatically start giving them way. The guy driving them may not be aggressive at all. It's just a system 1 thinking saying, बड़ी SUV है, तो वो attitude दिखाएगा. That may not be the case at all. So a lot of decisions are taken through system 1. A behavior is system 1. A lot of FMCG consumption is system 1. कि भैया साबुन दे देना, हर महीने वही साबुन, हर महीने वही detergent. Without thinking we do. But when you ask people कि आप बताएं आपने लक्स साबुन क्यों खरीदा, या घड़ी detergent क्यों खरीदा, people don't know. It's a system 1 behavior, and the respondent themselves don't know it's a system 1 behavior. She's not going to tell you system 1 behavior. She will start rationalizing. अच्छा उसपे ना अच्छी स्कीम चल रही थी. नहीं उस पर ना ये होता है, उस पर रिटेलर ने बोला, दुकान वाले भैया ने बोला कि इससे आपकी स्किन अच्छी होगी, या बाल अच्छे होंगे, जो भी. शी रैशनलाइजेस इट, एंड इन रिसर्च वी टेक दोज रिस्पॉन्सेज एज वैलिड रिस्पॉन्सेज, थिंकिंग कि यही है. अच्छा उन्होंने बोला वो उसने स्कीम दिया इसलिए चल रहा है, हम भी स्कीम लगाते हैं, हम भी 1-on-1 फ्री देते हैं, your margins start going down. So rationalization is a very big thing that consumers do, that we do, which is a post-rationalization, because we actually don't think why we buy. We don't know what are the emotions that are driving our decision. So asking people does not make sense. You get all rational responses. I'll give you another example that is quite interesting. Is that Lux? Do you know Lux soap? Yes. Okay. So it's been saying "Filmi Sitaron ka Saundarya Sabun" or some version of that. It's been showing the film stars. It's been showing film stars for like 100 years now, literally 100 years. From Devika Rani in black and white to Madhubalas and Meena Kumaris to Alia Bhatt today. We've been showing film stars for 100 years in this country and across most of the world. Though a lot of countries, I still say we because I'm no longer Unilever, but Unilever still doesn't show film stars in a lot of countries now, but in India they do. अब आप, let's say you go and ask in a research saying, क्या आपको लगता है कि लक्स साबुन इस्तेमाल करने से आप आलिया भट्ट जैसे दिखने लगेंगी? You'll probably slap me and throw me out of the room. Now, because she doesn't sort of think that way, but she's still buying it. Still the number 1 soap in India, for several years. And on that positioning of Filmi Sitaron ka Saundarya Sabun, it still sells. So why is it selling? What's the real reason why she's buying Lux? Is it price? Is it the positioning? Is it the advertising? What is it? So you must understand that if you're a Lux brand manager to see what are the biases, what are the emotions that are driving it. Also, what is interesting is that every category satisfies an emotional need. I'll give you a couple of examples there. When you have a shower, we bathe every day. Yeah, hopefully all of you do. At least the smell in the room doesn't tell me that you don't. We think that नहाना है, साफ करना है, सफाई जरूरी है इसलिए नहाना है. That is not why we bathe. We shower or bathe. So practices are different in different people's houses. India is mostly a bathing country, not so much showering. But we do that because when you gotten up in the morning, you're sleepy, you're lazy, you're like, okay, दिन के लिए तैयार करना है. You go have a shower. When you come out, you're fresh, you're ready for the day, and you're ready to start the day. So ऐसा नहीं है कि हम रोज जाके मिट्टी में इतने मिट्टी पलित हो जाते हैं कि नहाने की जरूरत है. कभी कभार वो होता है. But you do it because it changes your state of mind. It makes you fresh. It makes you ready for the day. You drink tea or coffee in the morning because you wake up and you're ready, and then you go have a shower. You're like, oh, now I'm ready. So if you don't do that shower routine, if I don't shower and if I don't shave after that, I don't feel I'm ready for the day. So even if I'm not going anywhere, I'll still have a shower in the morning because then I'm ready for the day. That's a state of mind change. That's the emotional need that the bathing or showering category satisfies. Functionally, yes, it cleans me, but emotionally, it changes my state of mind from A to B. Now, if you understand that, then the soaps and the body washes that you will make will meet that need. You will say that you're the kind of a person who wants to be energetic, who's very energetic in the morning. You will use a soap or a body wash that gives you fragrances and a lot of lather that makes you feel energetic. If you're kind of a person who wants to feel calm and relaxed and ready for the day, then you will probably use soaps and body washes that are a little bit calming in terms of fragrances, lather, sensorials. So if you understand that, you will create your soaps and body washes in that way, and you'll advertise them that way. So therefore, emotional need is important to understand. Every category has an emotional need, and within that, brands will occupy different emotions on the spectrum of that. Does that make sense? Now, similarly, look at banking. I was talking to a couple of years. I was consulting on my own after I left Unilever for a couple of years. And ICICI Bank, the leadership team of ICICI Bank, called me to give a talk to them on consumer centricity. Trust me, the talk that I was doing was not very different from this, and they were leadership teams of ICICI Bank. So they were like, हमारा NPS score, which is a satisfaction score, तो बहुत अच्छा है. तो consumer centricity में तो हम क्या करना चाहिए हमको? Consumer trends, we should know what are the consumer trends. Yeah, consumer trends सबको पता है. UPI payment, digital payments are higher in India, than the next 4 or 5 countries combined. तो वो तो अभी already कर रहे हो, तो और क्या consumer trend करोगे? OTT trends, book देख के हम क्या करेंगे? So they didn't know what to do. They thought consumer trends is what they have to do, and I was like, consumer centricity is what you have to do. So they said, give us some examples. So I've been a customer of ICICI Bank for several years, so I knew. But also I went and visited a few branches before this talk for me to understand क्या होता है. Now when I went to the branches, I noticed in a lot of ICICI Bank branches, you see the photograph, this is not an ICICI photograph, it's off the net, but it was designed like that. The person serving me is sitting and you're standing here. Here, at least in the counter, the person can keep his hands. But a lot of times, even that is not there. So there's a counter, just standing here, the person is sitting in front of you. And बोलो कि सर मैडम ये मेरा क्रेडिट कार्ड का प्रॉब्लम है या ये बैंक स्टेटमेंट चाहिए whatever, can you please solve it? Yeah, okay, you say I'll solve it. Now the fact that I'm standing and you're sitting psychologically puts us in different positions. Normally you stand in front of your boss, or in front of your parents that you're supposed to show respect to, or in front of your boss saying, and they're questioning, saying क्या हो रहा है ये कर रहा है, you say हाँ ये हो रहा है. If you're sitting and I'm standing, you're automatically putting me psychologically in a lower position than yourself. You're telling me I'm the boss and you're not the boss. You have to answer to me. People don't understand that. Customers don't understand that. But that's a feeling that comes in. Now, I'm standing here like an idiot. You are doing something on my credit card query that I've asked, and I'm wondering how वो कब करेगा. You're looking at your desktop or laptop that you have and doing something. 10 minute गुजर गए, and I'm like, sir, मेरा वो क्या हुआ? Now, what are you looking at the desk? Are you looking at my bill? Are you looking at somebody else's information? Are you checking your email? Are you looking at porn? Who knows what you're doing? I have no idea. So I'm just waiting till you find something and tell me कि अच्छा ये problem है, ये issue है. Till then I'm waiting, for the Lord, customer executive, bank executive to answer my questions. That's not the customer centricity. If you make me sit in front of you so that we have an eye-to-eye contact and you treat me like an equal, because I am your customer, remember, I am paying you. Why are you treating me like, you're the boss? You're not. If you make me sit in front of you and have an eye contact and have a desktop position in a way that you can also see, I can also see, that's a lot more customer centric. That suddenly will change the customer experience. Now, when you talk to customers can't tell you that. They'll come out saying, हाँ, मैं credit card query के लिए गया था, 15 minute लगे, solve कर दिया, I'm happy. They don't know that a better experience is possible. They can't tell you that. But if you're really customer centric, if you're putting yourself in consumers' shoes and thinking about the emotion that that experience is generating, you'll think about it differently. Does that make sense? So therefore, there's an opportunity for everything to do. Banks, even now, when I started banking long time ago, when I started working, when you go to there are different counters. I forgot what the names are called, but there is a counter where you give money. There's a counter where you take money. So let's call this give and take. By default, I assume give is where I give the money to the bank. Take is where I take the money from the bank as a customer. It's actually ulta, even till today. Give is where bank gives the money, take is where bank takes the money. And I'm like, ये तो आपने उल्टा design कर दिया ना? You designed it from your perspective, not from customer's perspective at all. So that's not customer centricity. Customer centricity, therefore, saying that how do I be more consumer centric? And those are simple little things. You don't need complex, market research processes to understand that. Though you will need research processes, of course. But you don't need to understand that. You're just putting yourself in the shoes of the consumer and saying what is the best way of dealing with it. There are studies which show that if there are two identical malls, identical location, similar shops, etc., identical shops, a mall that plays music in the background while you're shopping sells at least 25% more than the mall that doesn't. Because the music is triggering an emotion. It's triggering a happy, state of mind, which makes you shop more. Similarly, if you're hungry and if you're going grocery shopping when you're hungry, you'll end up buying lots and lots of stuff that you don't need, or a lot of junk food and snacks that you're not going to need because you're hungry at that point in time. So never go shopping if you're hungry. Similarly, if you're looking for a house for rent, which I was doing in Gurgaon recently, if you're looking for a house to rent and the real estate agent is showing you lots and lots of houses, if you walk into a house that smells of freshly made rotis, there's a very good chance you'll rent that house. Because it just brings back the homely feeling and homely memories. So, if you're a clever real estate agent, if you're going to do real estate, then make sure that the houses that your customers are seeing have a good homely smell, whether it's roti or rice or food or whatever it is. For me, it's a Sunday morning feeling. When I go into a house and I look at it and I say, when I get up in this house on Sunday morning, will it give me that Sunday morning feeling or not? If it does, I'll take the house. Of course, you look at the layout and the pricing, etc., but those are secondary. Those are the rational decisions, but you don't take the rational decisions like I was saying. So everything is emotional. Look at the emotions that you're evoking and tap into that and understand that to sort of see what is it that you can do. So people therefore do not buy products, they buy solutions to their problems. People don't have banking needs. I don't have a banking need, but I have a need to put my money safely because I'm concerned that I'll run out of my money or somebody will steal my money. That's an emotion. I have a need to grow my money in a manner so that I can cover my expenses, I can cover my kids' education, I can cover my retirement, I can cover my lifestyle. So I have a need to grow so that I can live life happily. I don't have banking needs, but the most banks that you talk to, they will say, "Oh, I'll meet your banking needs." I don't have any banking needs. So to think about it differently. Or then the bank go to other extreme. Khayal rakhe aapka. Arey bhaiya, I don't want you to keep my khayal, yaar. Just treat me properly when I walk into a branch. Or, dil se open, or some nonsense like that. They will go to completely other extreme, dil se open. What the fuck does it mean? So, so don't just do taglines in an advertising just to sound sexy or just to sound emotional. Nobody is going to access bank because dil se open hai. Mere baaju mein branch open karo, I'll be happy. So, being consumer-centric is looking at what is the solution that she really wants. What's the desire, what's the aspiration, what's the anxiety is that they want, and therefore, how am I meeting that? And of course, how am I meeting that differently from somebody else? So, khayal rakhe aapka versus dil se open, how are the two different? They're not different. So, how is dil se open different from khayal rakhe aapka? Do you see what I mean? So, therefore, emotional solutions is what they buy, and that's what you need to tap into. Consumer centricity, therefore, comes from three things. Understanding market research. You will learn market research. You might have learned during your graduation, depending on what you've done in your graduation. Market research is something that you will learn, and you must learn because that's a process to get to insights. But you must understand that it's a process. It's not an insight in itself. So therefore, if I want to understand that ICICI Bank insight that I was telling you about the customer experience, what research process do I need? A simple observation that I went and did gave me that insight. So do I need simple observations? Do I need large quantitative interviews? Do I need shopping accompaniments? Do I need to look at media habits? What do I need to do? A lot of people think that market research is so boring, you'll sleep off in the class. It is a bit boring process, but it's a process. If you're interested in the insight at the end of it, then you'll be interested in the process as well. Think observation karne, FMCG companies spend a lot of money. They're the biggest spenders on market research generally across the world. And because most of the products are used, bought and consumed in system one. So we want to know why they're buying. So we spend a lot of time in people's houses looking at being a fly on the wall, looking at how they're using the products, how are they sort of doing it. But that's a market research process. So must understand the research as a process to see where you are. And don't think of it as something boring, that I don't need to learn. Of course you need to learn, but you need to know that it's a process. You shouldn't be slave to the process, but make sure the process is serving the need that you have. Develop your gut feel. You don't be shy in developing your own gut feel and intuition. Because all of us are also consumers of the products that we're going to sell. तो अगर आपको नहीं पता है product कैसे होता है तो कैसे बेचोगे? I need to have a gut feel. So I'll give you an example. When one of the brands that we sell now is Expert, which is a dishwash bar in the RSPL that I joined 3 months ago. Now I've not washed bartan for a long time. Probably COVID में थोड़ा बहुत किया होगा, but thankfully we had our helper at home who didn't go away and she was staying with us, so we didn't have to do that so much. तो बर्तन जिंदगी में धोए नहीं है मैंने. First 2 months after joining RSPL in April and May, I was washing all the bartan I was living alone here. My family is still back in Bombay. सारे बर्तन, and I love cooking, तो बहुत सारे बर्तन निकलते. सारे बर्तन में खुद धो रहा था 2 महीने. With our expert bar, expert liquid, Vim bar, Vim liquid, Patanjali, competition bars, EXO, ये वो सब कुछ. Because I need to know कि वो कैसे होता है प्रोडक्ट, वो चिकनाई कैसे निकलती है, वो स्क्रबर का क्या रोल है, plastic scrubber versus steel scrubber versus woolen scrubber, what difference does it make? Because when I'm reading the consumer data and consumer saying this is the experience, washing के टाइम पे ये fragrance होता है, लगाते समय ये fragrance होता है, जब साफ हो जाते हैं तो थोड़ा सफेद सफेद कभी रह जाता है. What is that सफेद सफेद रह जाता है? That's what consumers will tell you. If I don't see it, I don't know what it means. So I have to develop my own gut feel for the category. So in Unilever, the global head of home care used to be a British guy for a few years. He didn't have gut feel about how Indians wash their bathrooms. He would come and wash toilets in respondents' homes. We would recruit respondents for him. Come and wash toilets in respondents' homes himself. He would watch people washing toilets. He would wash it himself because Indian toilets are different. To see what it is like and is our toilet cleaner doing the job or not. He would go watch people watching. He will go watch people washing clothes. हाथ से bucket से, because washing machine penetration is about 35% in India. So 65% households don't have a washing machine. तो हाथ से कैसे धोते हैं, कैसे rinse करते हैं, we would watch it and we would do it so that we develop our own gut feel. That's very, very important to do. You can't say कि अच्छा ये ना मैं सस्ता वाला क्रीम, I'm a Glow and Lovely brand manager. Glow and Lovely मेरे लिए नहीं है. मैं तो सिर्फ Lancome में Shiseido लगाती हूँ. अरे भैया, if you're producing a product that you yourself can't use, how do you expect your consumers to use it? And if you don't like something in the product, change it so that you like it. See if consumers like it as well. So therefore, that's very, very important. One of the brands we sell today is Pro-E sanitary napkins at RSPL. My biology doesn't require me to use a sand nap. So how do I develop gut feel about that? What does the length mean? What is the width? What's the role of thickness? वो wings का क्या role है? Wings छोटे हो गए, wings का shape बदल गया, उससे क्या होता है? I have no idea. But I have to talk to a lot of people. I have to talk to a lot of women. If they don't talk to me, a lot of women are not comfortable talking about it. Can I have somebody else talking to them but watch the video? Can I see what is it she's saying about it? When she say absorbency, when she say वो dry feel नहीं है, what does she mean? When she says उतना dry नहीं चाहिए, थोड़ा soft चाहिए, उसका क्या मतलब है? तो वो formulation में क्या change करें so that dryness and softness का balance हो? So therefore, that gut feel is very, very important to do and never shy away from that. So use research as a process to get data, but also develop your own gut feel so that you can say that I know this ad is right. I know this ad is right. I know your testing is saying that consumers are not liking it, but I think it's evoking the right emotion. So why is it not evoking the right emotion in consumers? What can I change in the ad so that it evokes the right emotion? Because I know that this will work, but research is telling me something else. So then you'll try and marry the two, or there might be a contradiction and there might be an insight in the contradiction. So develop your gut feel, never shy away from that. Finally, understand yourself. The journey to consumer insights begins by understanding yourself. What are my passions? What drives me? What motivates me to take certain jobs? What motivates me to change jobs? What motivated me to go to engineering, to do an MBA? And I wanted to do advertising when I went to the B school, saying, मुझे तो advertising करनी है. Why did I not go to advertising? I did work in advertising for a few years, couple of years after that, and I didn't like it, and I went back to research, and then to the main business role. Because if you understand yourself fully, you will understand your biases, you will understand your prejudices, and then you'll try and look at the data objectively. See, मुझे ये confirmation bias है. I tend to look at the data which confirms my hypothesis and ignore everything else. If you know that about yourself, then you will not ignore other data and you will look at it better. And so therefore understanding yourselves is very, very important. And this year, like I was saying, it's a transformative year. This year should also give you an opportunity to understand yourselves. मुझे क्यों पसंद है? If I understand why I like this particular fragrance or this particular product, then when I talk to the consumer, I can see why he does not like that fragrance. His mindset is different from mine. That's why he doesn't like it. So I can sort of relate. I can empathize better if I'm understanding myself. So therefore, understand yourselves. As to what drives you, what motivates you, so that you can understand consumers better. So use this time, use this journey. So that's all really I have. Learn to ask the right question and learn consumer centricity. These are the really two things that I think you should learn, and particularly learn to ask the right question. If you do, you would have got more than your money's worth. Thank you very much for your engagement.